The extraterrestrial. When you mention the word alien to a normal human being, you get a reaction of fear, desperation, anxiety, mystery, and total disbelief. And that's the average person. This is the year of the infamous, the long-standing UFO disclosure. I like to call it the return of the interstellar and interdimensional friends and family. A reconciliation unlike any reconciliation in the last few centuries. Now, this disclosure process starts in 2016. It starts in 2016 as a more profound, a more evident process. So there are some things that we should be aware of. Basically, how the disclosure works. Because there are people there who have been conditioned, who have been brainwashed, who work for intelligence agencies, who people want to cause trouble, people who are double agents, disinformation artists. And that's not even getting into the people who have been ritualistically brainwashed for many years through television, through movies, through online videos and discussions. This business of extraterrestrials is rife with wrong information. So let me share with you the process of a proper interstellar reconciliation, because that's probably a better term. There's an interstellar reconciliation. It starts this year. So this contradicts the expectation that there's going to be a big announcement, there's going to be a mothership, it's going to be clear as day, and we're going to be finally convinced, and then we can go back to our miserable lives. That's just not the way it's going to happen. There's not going to be a big, huge event. There's not going to be any other disastrous event. We have enough of those tragedies and crises. That's something else. The disclosure process has already begun, really, with this new information being shared with society, with small groups of society who are open, who have been doing the research. This new information contradicts our old information. This new information also leads to new speakers. New speakers start to talk about different subjects. Some of these new speakers, these are scientists, these are former scientists, these are astronomers, these are researchers, these are hobbyists. They're sharing new information. They're providing new evidence, whether it's structures on Pluto, whether it's the evidence of ancient aliens, whether it's the fossil evidence. All of this is part of the disclosure that there's something else going on. Now, this year, in 2016, from about March until May, that's my estimation, there's going to be a flood of new information, which could include new kinds of people speaking, new kinds of information being released publicly that was previously classified. There might be a whistleblower program. There might be some sightings. There might be some very, provocative information released through the media that's actually truthful, and there's evidence to support it. So in other words, between between March and May of 2016, we're going to see a little bit of a push, a little bit of a motivation. We're going to see more people talking about the subject of interstellar cultures, interstellar realities, interdimensional people sharing their stories. All of these things as part of the process. In conjunction with that, there's going to be this rising up of society that's not going to accept the status quo anymore. That's not going to accept this, this rigged economy. That's not going to accept the way the world works, this perennial war. The way the water's been poisoned, the food is being genetically modified, the air has been weaponized. Under the cover of climate change, there is a climate war going on between major nations who have these climate weapons, weather weapons. That's part of the process, because you're not going to get us communicating with interstellar beings if we are subjected to all of these manipulations, these lies, these attacks. So these are going to be in conjunction. So the more knowledge we realize, the more things that we find to be true, we're going to realize that we have been subjects of a very unfair situation. And people are naturally going to rise up. Rise up, they're going to get together, they're going to speak the truth, they're going to support the truth, they're going to identify people who are not for the truth, who are false. So all of this is 2016. This is part of the interstellar disclosure. There's going to be this rise of energy, the vibration. The vibration rises. Now, that's going to affect people differently. Some people who've gone through the process, who've come to terms with who they are and dealt with their anger and emotions, they'll be able to ride this out. They might even become elevated. Some people who have been repressed, some people who are angry, some people who have been subjected to unfairness, they may react badly. They may speak out negatively. That's all of this process. You can't have the ships landing in an environment that's suppressed, that's filled with violence, hatred, and fear. So as this energy is released, we're going to see a number of reactions in society. The masks are going to come off, right? You're going to see people for who they are. Once you see people for who they are, you're going to change the way you look at them. Once you see what companies have been doing, once you see what people have been doing, once you see information that has been suppressed, that it rises to the surface, what naturally happens is you change your position, right? So you change your decision, you change the way you live your life. You say, I'm not going to support that anymore. I'm not going to eat that anymore. I'm not going to believe those people anymore. I'm going to listen to new people. I'm going to find new sources of information. But all of that is part of this interstellar disclosure, because the interstellar people, the stellans, they know about the climate war. So they're going to be talking about climate weapons. But there's no such thing as climate change. That is just a cover story for the climate war, and that some earthquakes were engineered. And that led to the death and loss of millions of hundreds of thousands of lives. Millions of lives over the years. And that's going to also expose the fact that there are these advanced weather weapons in the sky. So all of these things are going to rise up. That's just one example. There's going to be more examples, whether it's free energy, whether it's high vibration food, and all of these things. the nature of vaccinations. That's part of the interstellar disclosure, because that's part of the process of us getting out of this suppression, this imprisonment, this comatose, this hypnosis. We have been ritualistically hypnotized for a very long time. And when people come out of the hypnosis, when those thought implants start to weaken, and we realize we've been manipulated and taken advantage of, that's when we start just to change our viewpoint, change our position. We change who we trust. We may not trust anybody. We may find new faces. New people will show up and say, I've been saying it all along, but nobody's been listening to me. That's all part of the disclosure. This is 2016. So 2016 is going to have this release of this energy. It's going to have the mask is going to come off. And that's going to lead to this kind of conflict between the right and wrong, morality and amorality, ethics and being unethical, human rights, all of these things. You know, should we accept GMO food if GMO food is bad for human beings? If you look at GMO food, the people behind GMO food, they come from higher up in the dimensional space. The invention of GMO food is not a human invention. That's part of the disclosure. The disclosure says these cosmic criminals and darker stellans have been manipulating our ecosystem, our food, our water, our buying up our politicians, and have distorted reality. That's part of the disclosure. So 2016 is this shift. And this, I think, this is my opinion, because there will be discussions of ETs and stuff like that in a very different way. But this process has to be done before the ships land. You know, we need to release all of this suppression. We need to understand what's going on. At least we need to be aware how we've been manipulated. And we need to understand what is real and what is not real, what is fair, what is not fair, what is against human rights, and what is, you know, for human rights. And that's this process. There's not going to be anything big. There's always going to be this threat of violence and these skirmishes between countries. That's always in existence. There's always going to be a new biological threat. That may get heated up once you expose things about the weather weapons. There could be some kind of antagonism between a different nation. But that's to cover up the discovery of these weather weapons. That's going to happen. You're going to have... So when there's a discovery or before a discovery, or when a genuine discussion starts to take place, there could be an incident. There could be a false flag. You have to expect that. You have to work through that. That only solidifies that there are agencies trying to prevent this process of evolution, this process of progress. So it's going to be a tussle. It's going to be a lot of things going on. If you're for this disclosure, try to push through the sludge. And sometimes it may get heated, so try to be calm. Understand what's going on. Don't make any rash decisions. Somebody's screaming the end of the world. Do not believe them. Somebody's screaming all aliens are going to come. Do not believe it.